Hello, hello, hello. Finally, it is time to talk about Onikoroshi. Very, very cheap sake. No, not interested in sake. It's surprisingly good for the price. This is like 100 yen and it's actually drinkable. But no, we're not talking about sake. We're not talking about Onikoroshi. We're talking about Onigoroshi. Basically means the same, like demon killer or something. In English, the movie is called Demon City. It's a Netflix movie. I haven't watched any Netflix movies in ages because usually I'm not very excited by them. I usually say like Netflix is basically the new direct-to-video and a little bit boring. So I wasn't particularly looking forward to this one, but because it's made by Seiji Tanaka, who made this beautiful movie. It's very, very good. You should watch it. You can get the disc from Third Window Films, or you can watch it on Saka, the very beautiful, wonderful streaming service. Anyway, this human, he made this movie. He made, I think, a short movie version of this before. And then he made two more movies. One is today's movie, Demon City. That's on Netflix. And the other one is called The Man Who Failed to Die. That's in cinemas right now. And I didn't have the money to watch it so far. So I will check that later. So once I regain my cinema-going abilities, I will go and watch it. Because I didn't just like this one. I liked Demon City a lot as well. And looking at Letterboxd, most people seemingly don't. It has an average rating of a 2.7. And with 6,000 people who watch it, and if you take a look at Japanese websites, it's not much better. What's going on here? I smell another case of what's wrong with people? Why don't they understand this movie? It sometimes happens that I watch a movie and I really, really like it, and I look on the internet, people don't like it. And today I actually made notes. I recorded this video yesterday and I wasn't too happy with my personal performance, so I tried to do it better today. It sometimes happens. I check and I feel like, did people understand this movie? And I certainly feel like they didn't in large part. So I checked some reviews today in my lunch break and wrote down some stuff until I got bored, because suddenly all the reviews sounded more or less the same. And these are some quotes from people who sometimes I like and respect a lot, but I think maybe they got something wrong. And some people who I like and respect a little bit less, or who I don't even know. So if I quote you and you feel like, oh, I'm so sad that he disagrees with me, I'm sure you're one of the people with good taste who I respect. So let's take a look at my notes. One is from my regular podcast guest Basti, and he wrote one thing that's absolutely 100% true. It's a mix of Kill Bill and The Crow. And if someone would come up to me and would ask me, like, hey, do you want to watch a movie that's a mix of Kill Bill and The Crow? And I would say, yes, please, I want to watch this movie, because it sounds pretty good, even though most The Crow remakes are seemingly pretty bad. I just remember watching the second one, and the only thing I remember is that it's completely yellow. Okay. So still, the original The Crow movie, where Brandon Lee sadly passed away during the shooting, is pretty great, and Kill Bill is pretty great. So I would like to see a movie that fuses these two together. And there's some other stuff, like people complain that there's no story, which is not true. Some people complain about logic, which is weird. Some people come up with comparisons to The Raid and John Wick, and I would say, John Wick and The Raid are both better, but they don't have anything to do with this movie besides being an action movie, and in the case of John Wick, being a revenge movie. But everything else, I like they don't even really try to be any kind of competition for these two movies, besides like people fighting. But it's very strange. I never had the feeling that was what they were going for. Like, the style of the action is completely different, and the whole aesthetic is completely different. Just like, it's an action movie. That's this is weird. But let's get a little bit more into the details, so it's easier to talk about. So it's a movie about a super killer who gets the job to kill some gangsters, and he does that, and then he retires. That's his dream, the genre typical last job until a peaceful life follows. And he goes back home, he switches into his sweatpants, and his family gets killed by the people who gave him the job, and he gets, at least they try to kill him as well, and kind of fail. So Kill Bill, like, he's in a coma. 12 years later he gets back to life, and there comes the crow element, because every 50 years there's a demon coming to the city and going on a killing spree. So that's a whole plot. There's some smaller details that we will get into later, but that's it. And if you don't like the plot, okay, there's still action. I wrote down at what time there's some action, just to make clear that there's not much time spent with this plot. The whole movie is 106 minutes. We have a big action scene at the start, one more at 30 minutes, one more at 40 minutes, one more at about 1 hour. Then you have like the or basically the biggest action scene at 1 hour and 10, and the final climax at about 1 hour 22. So there's like 10-15 minutes between action scenes where stuff happens, and that stuff is not boring at all, if you ask me. It's very entertaining, because there we come to the two essential things that I believe people don't understand about this movie. One is media literacy, and that doesn't mean that you don't have it. It just means that I think the movie doesn't tell us certain things because we have seen enough movies of this kind to fill in the gaps and just understand it without unnecessary explanation, and that's a very good and very smart thing. The movie skips stuff, so we don't need it. We don't need this extra weight that just takes time and makes it boring if you rewatch it. It's like a Christopher Nolan movie. I haven't seen his last few. I don't know if that changed after Interstellar, but usually if I watch a Christopher Nolan movie, like let's say what was the one with the Inception, right? Inception. First time I watched Inception, I thought, okay, that's a fine movie. That's entertained me very much. And then I watched it again, and I was so bored by the endless dialogue scenes that explain stuff to me that I would rather watch in some kind of played out scene, that I fell asleep, and I never watched it again because I felt like it's a really, really boring movie. So I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan. But this movie is so basic and bare bones that you don't need to tell us certain things. Like one very good person, said that he doesn't understand why these bad guys, who are all like politicians and cops and stuff like this, like really corrupt scum of the city, who take over the city, why they try to kill this dude in the first place, and then when they find out that he's alive, they just let him live. But first of all, if you're that kind of villain, obviously you want to let people disappear who might cause trouble to you later. I mean, that's a very dangerous man. Who knows who might pay him to kill you, or maybe he will just use his knowledge about this mission to I don't know, exploit you, blackmail you, whatever, cause any kind of trouble to you. So it's just better to get rid of him. But if you have ever tried maybe to create some piece of art, let's say you're a painter or musician or something, and you have an idea, you try to do that and it doesn't really work out. So you make a small mistake and it's different, but you look at it or you listen to it, if you're pretty cool too. Let's leave it like that. That works. And we know, like this type of crazy movie villains, if they have their enemy in a like vegetative state, just drooling all over their face all the time, that's kind of entertaining. That's almost as good as that. You can sometimes visit him, look at him, laugh at him, and enjoy, and it has the same effect. And I mean, usually if people wake up from a coma, they don't come to kill you. That's quite unusual thing. So usually they're in bed and you still have time to get rid of them in that case. So who cares? You can just enjoy the show, and that's a fun thing for a villain to do. So why would you explain that? It's doesn't need explanation. It's like inherently evil and vile, and that's what crazy movie villains would do. So why would you explain that? The same goes for the backstory of that villain, where he's like, I will put that in the spoiler part, but it's basically two scenes that are so generic and self-explanatory that you don't need to get explained. You don't need exposition to teach you who like the other characters are, or why stuff happens, why does he do what he does. It just makes sense in this action film genre that we all know and understand. You have watched a million revenge movies. If you watch something like that, you don't need the explanation. That reminds me of this movie by Sogo Ishii or Gakuru Ishii, depending, I forgot when it was in his career. One of these names he changed somewhere. And I forgot the title of the movie. I will probably write it here. But basically, it's a collection of short films that are more or less the climax of a movie. And we don't know the story before that, but because it's so like typical genre stuff, we can fill in the blanks that we don't need explanation. It just works. You know the characters, you know everything about this. You don't need more explanations than you get from these short scenes. And that's pretty much the same here. He meets a police officer who helps him. Yeah, you saved my life. Hey, cool. Makes sense. He saved his life. I don't even know if there was a scene where he saved his life, or it's just like a line to explain their relationship, and this just works. No, same later. Same good guy was like, sometimes they skip over fight scenes or battle scenes, and for me there were two things where I felt like, okay, someone might be interested in seeing more of this action. One is a staircase fight where the camera is outside the building and just goes slowly up, while we sometimes see through the windows the main character fighting the bad guys. And it's a little bit like, oh, why don't I really see this nice one-shot staircase fight? Like every movie needs to have a one-shot staircase fight. Yeah, because we get one later. Makes total sense to not show this one, just to make you a little bit, I would like to see this action a little bit more in detail. Yeah, you get it later. It's just a smart little move to make you expect something. And later he fights, like just before the big climax, of course, he needs to fight a million henchmen, and he does it very good, and it's entertaining and nice. And after he finishes them all, same genre typical stuff, so I don't know why people would be like, why don't you show me that? There's a huge staircase and another like 100 guys or so come down, and the next scene he's just sitting on a corpse going up an elevator. So we don't see how he killed all these people, because why would they show it to us? It's not necessary. We just saw him getting rid of a bunch of these minions, so why would we just keep watching that for another hour, or God knows how long it took to finish them all off? It's just more impressive to see this whole devastation that he, like the result that he created there. We don't need to see more to enjoy the movie and the story. It's just, we've seen it, we know more of this happens, and that's totally fine. And yeah, so I don't really get why you would be like, I want to see more of that, even though we get a lot of action in this movie. So it's a weird point. So yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't get shown or doesn't get explained because the director or the people who worked on this movie know that you and I and we all have seen a lot of revenge movies, and we can follow this quite easily because it's a really simple, very typical story with some tiny little twists to make it a little bit more interesting. Just for example, there's this guy who helps him, and we already know he's responsible for this whole issue in the first place. Like, he worked with the enemy, and he confesses to our protagonist, and he says, oh my god, you should kill me. And in most other movies I were like, oh my god, yeah, I forgive you. No, he just, no, and that's it. And a similar scene later, he has one of the bad guys, then he's talking on the phone to the main villain, and the main villain says, oh, I need him, and if you don't let him go, I will do terrible stuff to people who you like very much. And yeah, usually the conversation would maybe be like, hey, come to this place, let's meet there, let's exchange hostages or whatever, and then you get something. But no, he just decides to keep murdering people, and that's very entertaining. So yeah, it plays a little bit with the genre standards, but for the most part it just expects you to understand what's going on. Like, you don't even need dialogue for this movie. The protagonist barely speaks, and that's totally fine. It works perfectly well, and I think that's very good for rewatches, because yeah, you don't need to sit through minutes and minutes of dialogue that explains stuff to you that you understand anyway. So that's very, very good. Another thing that I believe most people don't understand is that it's a comedy. Yeah, it's a bloodthirsty, nasty revenge movie, and a lot of it is played for comedy, or at least with a comedy sensibility. A lot of the action is quite funny, or at least with comedy timing, where suddenly something unexpected happens that makes you a little chuckle. Yeah, and that's very, very good. But I haven't seen any review that pointed out that it's a funny movie. I mean, there's a guy who tells a story how he had a lover, a nice lady, but she was married to one of the bad guys, and then he pulls out this tiny box with this dried up finger that he got from her with the matches. Like, hands off my wife. And yeah, he like put some nail polish on it, but it's falling off or stuff, so he needs to renew the nail polish, and he sits with this raisin-like finger. It's just grotesque, hilarious, and that's the point where I feel someone commented that the director's sensibilities and unique style don't really shine through here. But I haven't seen Melancholic in a while, but as far as I know, it's a pretty dark comedy movie, and I think this sensibility for comedy comes through really well. I need to rewatch it. I will rewatch it and make a video about it. I'm highly motivated. I'm very hyped for it to watch it again. So we'll get back to that, and then I will verify or falsify my theory that we have quite a lot of this director's sensibilities here at play. I mean, visually, this one is obviously much more expensive. This is a tiny indie movie, and this one is a Netflix movie that probably had a bigger budget than most movies of this kind would get in Japan. So it looks actually pretty good. I mean, the CGI is sometimes a bit meh, and they have some very obvious trickery with speeding up material to make the attacks more impactful, similar to Baby Assassins. Nothing really bad, but you sometimes see how things are made. I don't think that's a bad thing, but yeah, maybe with a bigger budget that would be hidden a little bit better, but who cares? It's not a badly made movie. The cast is pretty fun. The protagonist is Toma Ikuta, who I mostly know for the lead role in the Mole Song movies, which I absolutely love. It's hilarious BS and very, very fun. Last year I saw him in Confession by the wonderful Nobuhiro Yamashita, another pretty violent movie. I wouldn't be surprised if that shows up at some point. Yeah, and then as the villain, we have the kabuki actor Matsuya Onoe, who does a pretty good job as a sword-fighting politician. Really punchable face, I would say. So yeah, that's all pretty good. We have a lot of different other actors. We have Masahiro Higashida in a small role. We have Naoto Takenaka, and so on. We have so many people. Pretty good cast. The music. So, let me quote. Flash microwave cheese rock. So the music is made by a great human who goes by the name Tomoyasu Hote. I mean, I'm sure it's not his greatest work of art, but it's a very solid rock soundtrack, and that's the guy who made this iconic track from Kill Bill that obviously nobody mentions in the reviews because nobody knows. Everybody knows the song, but nobody ever checked who made the music. And I saw his name in the opening credits. I was, yeah, that's gonna rock. And it rocks. It's good. Of course, it's kind of cheesy, but I mean, that's a good thing I like about Japan, that you can put stuff like that in and play it completely serious. In America, it would be, oh, we're so ironic here or whatever. I don't know. I don't like that. I can embrace some very honest cheesiness, especially in a movie that's not all that serious in general. It's a very fun, entertaining movie. And of course, when it's supposed to be a bit dramatic near the end, especially, the music is dramatic too, so that's totally fine. Why do you have to complain about a good old-fashioned guitar soundtrack? Ah, silly sausage. No. So, yeah, then here, let's see some more stuff I found. Someone wrote, it doesn't add anything to the genre. So first of all, like I said, I think the unique thing, or more or less unique thing about this movie is that it's actually pretty funny. Especially here, some people said something like, the action is not good, or someone complained about this guy waking up from a coma after 12 years and being just like as flexible as he is. But the first action scene after he wakes up, he's still in his bed and he can basically control his one arm and channels his inner Bruce Campbell to do some very comedic fighting with this very limited ability, and it's just hilarious and wonderful. And this keeps going. He keeps struggling with his body. If you actually pay attention, he has trouble with his arms and stuff. That's another thing. Like someone wrote that it ditches the supernatural overtones. Where does it ditch the supernatural overtones? I mean, he's obviously possessed. He's at his first scene, he's playing like he's obsessed, and later he gets stabbed and cut and hit and what else, and he just keeps going. He's obviously not a normal human. And in the climax, he's being told, "Oh, you're the real demon." What? How are these supernatural overtones ditched if you have this kind of super killer? I mean, like I said, he gets stabbed several times and stuff. He just keeps going. Weird? Really weird? Yeah, so what? So, yeah, no, doesn't add anything. I think, yes, this comedy aspect is very good. Something not all of these movies have. Yeah. It has the same movie who complained about the music and the supernatural elements, and the same person complains that the manga, which this is based on, got reduced from over 150 chapters to this 106 minutes, which I think is good. I don't know the manga, I have no idea. Maybe it's fantastic. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that I would love to see, but who cares? I don't really care if an adaptation is one-to-one the same, because then it would be boring, because then I would just see the same thing twice. I think a manga and a movie are not that different. They're both quite visual mediums, so I don't need the same thing twice. I prefer having a very lean, fun, condensed story here. That's good enough for me. But yeah, the same person says there's some great visual stuff in there. You have some very unique usage of weaponry. So he has this pretty crazy butcher knife-esque thing with a little like hook thing at the end, and he just throws a fire extinguisher with it, does some crazy stuff. That's pretty cool. So some unique action scenes. You have someone getting shot in the face and doing a crazy flip, which is obviously comedy. People fall off stairs in the weirdest moments. A lot of like I said, the timing is often very much comedy, and I think that's great. It's fun. Yeah, the first action scene basically sets the tone. Like our killer kills some people, and suddenly someone hits him with a pillar through the glass door, and then we have this scene where he gets hit with several things, and they just cut the movements in between. So one thing, next thing, and then he like throws him over a counter or something like that. So it's just like cut in a way. It looks like a cartoon. So if you haven't realized at that point that this is a funny movie, I really don't know what you have seen here. Same, this action scene in the hospital after he wakes up. There are two guys he's fighting. One is on the one side of the bed, he's on the other side, and the other one is kicking him. So he's kicking him against the bed, so the bed pushes back, and the other guy gets squeezed to the wall and tries to get onto the bed. He flips the bed, and the guy just goes out of the window. It's all like cartoon comedy. like, how does nobody see that it's a funny movie? It's so hilarious. Yeah, I could just retell a lot more of the scenes, and I think that's just not the point, because it's just entertaining, very fun and good. And just to close with a tiny spoiler, I want to explain this scene, this flashback scene that gives a little bit background story for the villain. So that's the last thing I will tell. Watch the movie. It's a lot of fun. If you like it, or if you don't like it, just watch Melancholic, because it's the better movie. I think Melancholic is probably better than this one, but this one is very good. So if you don't like this, watch it. If you like it, watch it anyway. Just in any case, watch Melancholic. You know, Third Window Films, Saka, both is good. Anyway, so last tiny spoiler. So we have this sequence where we find out that one of the big super villains is the almighty super villain's twin brother. And then we get a background story where some kind of master, who don't really know who that is, introduces the top villain to his twin brother. Says, hey, that's your brother, take care of him, be nice to each other. And then we have the next scene where the big super villain brother tells his twin brother to kill the master, and he does it. And that's the whole backstory we get for them. And that's all we need. We understand from the start, it was established that one is the brand, he gives the others orders, and he does whatever he wants him to do, and that adds just enough depth so we can get a little tiny twist at the end that makes it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, it just explains enough so you understand the whole picture without over explaining things. And it's good, it's fun, it's a very nice movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you can enjoy it a bit more with my talking here, and please give it a chance. I know Netflix movies are usually not great, but this one is a lot of fun, so why not? Thank you very much. Have a nice day. See you. Bye.